Rich is on the show next week.
Yeah, I was thinking it might be Rich that woke up.
He probably doesn't like the Sunday afternoon games. They're kind of like the worst timing for him, really, I'd think, down under. Dr. Bob Phillips said, well, that was an awful lot closer than I wanted it to be. Good to hear Myler continuing to work skillfully and the war horses JJB and Hall crossing the white line, along with a breathless, well, the description was, try from Moon. My earlier berating of Watkins to practice kicking has clearly paid off, and we didn't have to lose by a drop goal. Again, it may have only been 2 points, but it gained 2 points to us.
Cutthroat Jake says, that was a much-needed win. Again, our defence was a great bedrock upon which we built our game plan. I just wish our attack would fully click. On the positive side, Nathan Petteru appears to have had a great run out at Fev. Can't wait for him to return to the fold.
Okay, Tim G Radio said, you need to score in a half to win games, boys. Defender-thons will only get you so far.
And Roger the cabin boy says, another struck from Parcell after McDermott pulls him off. If Leeds aren't careful, he'll blur.
Innuendos abound there from Roger the cabin boy. I don't even know if Parcell was taken off the pitch. Maybe it was just a joke. Anyway, you listened to this one, I think, on the radio.
I did. Although I must admit I did have a little nap whilst I was listening to it. So I was vaguely like half listening and half dreaming, and I was like, are Rovers up? And they were. Yeah,
I mean,
I had been listening to that bit.
It seems like the forwards were imposing in the first half. Tries from both starting front rowers, Rob Mulhern and Mossy Massot. And the other thing, though, and it was what Cass did and got away with, but I don't know. Well, obviously, Hull KR didn't get away with it. They got a lot of penalties in the first half, and they kicked 3 of them for goals, which gave them an 18-12 half-time lead. But is that enough when you're playing a champion side? I don't know. I think you might
clearly
want to try and actually score some points off the back of that territory and field position that you were getting for Hull KR. That's what my feedback to them might be.
Yeah, although I suppose 2 points on the board rather than nothing if they messed it up.
Yeah, that is true. And the back end of the game, it sounds like they messed up quite a lot. It was quite. Did the radio convey a tenseness of finish?
Yeah, definitely. So Luke and Anna had a dress rehearsal for their dance show, so I dropped them off, came home, listened to the first half, certainly, between napping, and then listened to the first 20 minutes of the second half, and then went to pick them up, so I was listening in the car to the end bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it was getting
high
nervy at the end.
drama and wasted chances seems to be the order of the day for Hull KR there. They obviously had a lot of position and possession, and they didn't take advantage of it, and that's obviously their ultimate undoing, even though there was criticism of a touch judge not picking up on a pullback behind play, which was kind of flagged everywhere in the post-match interviews, in the all the sort of coverage of this game. So it does seem like maybe there was a decision missed that would have given Hull KR the opportunity to level the game up in that second half. And obviously there's a sin bin to Mossy Masoy at the start of the second half that Leeds during that period scored the get-ahead try, the Ryan Hall try. That was ultimately a difference, and they probably scored it with a help from there being a man less, because it was a wide overlap that they created that they hadn't managed to create throughout the rest of the game. Any view? Have you seen the footage?
I haven't seen the footage. Listening to the radio, it was interesting because you had one commentator who was outraged that he had been sin-binned, and the other saying, well, actually, on the evidence of things we've seen recently, maybe it should have been a red card, not a yellow. So
you can't get much more different then, can you?
No.
I haven't seen it. I think maybe one of the crucial things in why it was a yellow card and not just a penalty, because the incident is Mossy Masoy chasing down Ashton Golding and kind of coming over the back of him, and normally in those kind of things the arm kind of swings down. Maybe it does make contact with the side of the face, but tends to kind of be to pull him down rather than to swing around. But right on contact, it looks like Golding looks towards the side where the arm's coming in from, so the arm catches him more square on the face than it might normally do in that situation, when it might normally be kind of the neck and the side of the head. And where Scott Mikalauskis was positioned, he was sort of, I don't know, 5-10 metres away, kind of as if there was going to be a defensive line being set again. Kind of he was in the right position basically to be, but it was the side of it where the arm came in from, so he saw the direct contact, so that will have influenced his angle on that will have influenced that he thinks it's a card rather than no card. So I think it's fair enough with all of that combined. It did look like the contact was quite heavily to the head, even though it was more of an intention to hook him and bring him down rather than take him out, I think. But it was careless, and it was direct to the face, partly because of the actions of the player looking that way, but still direct to the face. I think you have to give yellow cards for those situations.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, it's another instance where Masoi could have tried to tackle him anywhere else. He could have tried to go round his waist. He could have gone for his legs from behind to trip him up, and he went. Yeah,
he didn't have to go high on it.
Exactly, yeah, and he ran that risk by going to claw him down over the top, I would suggest. Okay, do you have anything else you want to cover on this one? Have you seen any of the tries or anything like that?
I haven't. I was busy yesterday evening, so I didn't see anything of it, actually.
Well, it did look like Joel Moon's try was pretty good, and it does sound like Robin Mulhern, who got the first try on the board, had a cracking game again against his former side, the side that he came through.
He is playing well for Rovers, isn't he?
He is. He was in one of the halfway dream teams. I think it was your dad's, actually. So he must be doing well.
I was going to say, I think it was.
If a Robin got in, he must have been doing well. So there you go. So it looks like he impressed as well there. Okay.
And obviously Danny Maguire playing against his old team.
Kicked a 40-20 early doors, but they didn't. I think that was one of the occasions where they only got. I'm not sure if that led to the try or one of the penalty goals or what have you, but obviously, yeah. And that's key for the Robins, isn't it? How many games Danny Maguire actually plays this year. Okay, stats. With meter numbers between the sides close, it's other numbers that might help tell the story of this game. Both teams tackled at worse than 90% success rate, which is not good. But Hull KR had the worst of it with a 1.1% poorer team tackle success rate. They did make an extra break to Leeds, and despite the yellow card, they were actually better disciplined generally, with 4 penalties conceded to 9 that they were awarded. Errors ultimately, though, hurt the Robins. 19 errors they made compared to 9 by Leeds.
That's even worse than us.
Exactly. It was all the referee's fault, apparently. So he must have dropped those 19 balls, and he must have dropped 10 more than the opposition dropped. And he also must have been at fault for conceding fewer penalties to you than he ordered you.
Yeah.
I'd say back down, Rovers fans. It's on you, this one, I'm afraid, even if there were a couple of decisions that went against you in the heat of things. 19 errors is not good enough to win a game, I'm afraid. Okay. Ryan Hall, 1 try, 7 tackles, 144 metres. He's up there right at the top of the charts with metres per game, is smashing it. Ash Handley, 5 tackle bus, 111 metres and 2 clean breaks. Stevie Ward worked hard in defence, 46 tackles, 14, a huge 14 of those were marker tackles. Carl Ablett, 106 metres. Then for the losing side, Mossy Masoi with a try and 104 metres as well as the 10-minute rest. Rob Mulhern with a try, 132 metres. Danny Tickle, 40 tackles, 15 of which were marker tackles. So an old fella doing a lot of work there. And Junior Vaivai in the centres weren't able to capitalise much on this in terms of points being scored, but 8 tackle bus, 159 metres and 3 successful offloads. Where does that leave us with the league table standings, Sarah?
So there's no change in the top 3. Saints on 22, lead Wigan by 2 points and Wyre by 4, but there is movement below them. Cass are up to 4th on 16. Leeds are on 15 and are now in 5th, and Hull fall to 6th on 14 points. Wakefield lost but have moved up to 7th on points difference. Both them and Salford have 10 points. 9th to 11th all have 6 points. Widnes, Hull KR and Catalan, who are now off bottom. Huddersfield are on 5 points, and with their minus 249 points difference, fall to bottom place.
Yeah, it's not looking good at the moment for the Giants. Big job on the hands for Wolford. Okay, predictions, Super Brew, Dream Team, their updates. Okay, I got 5 out of 6 last week, and Tim cost you co-hosts with his Hull KR pick.
I know, I was shouting at him for that.
So I've taken the overall lead in the standings now. It's 39 correct picks for me versus 38 correct picks for the co-hosts. In the Super Brew, Chris McEwen retains his top spot, and it's Salford fan Mark McCartney who wears the yellow cap this week. Get in touch, Mark. Get your match reviews and stuff in, because obviously you're picking them well. So let's hear more about you. In the Dream Team, Wire fan Alan Bagley stays top. He's been top ever since he came into the league. Saints fan Stephen Bowie is second, though, and he had the best weekly score this week of the Devils number 666. Right, that's last week in Super League. We're now going to move on to look at other results from around the world of rugby league. Right, other results now, sponsored by Master of Shaves. Master of Shaves is a small family-run business that sells high-quality traditional wet shaving products and specialises in straight razors. Visit their website, masterofshaves.com, and Super League Pod listeners can get 10% off their order just by using the voucher code SLP at checkout. So it's dead simple. If you need some razors, or got a gift you've got to buy for someone who has a cleanly shaven face, go and check out Master of Shaves and get your 10% discount there, SLP listeners. Okay, other results starts with the championship. It was round 12 of that competition. Do you want to run us through the results, and I'll pick up any fan reviews along the way, Sarah?
Yeah, so it finished Swinton 8, Toulouse 62, but Swinton were running their free entry and picked up over 2,000 fans there, so that was a positive.
Yeah, that's a positive. Hopefully there'll be some people who aren't put off from going back after such a big hammering. Then
it was London. Sorry, were you going to say?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Then it was London 64, Dewsbury 6.
Yeah, and our friend Paul Chamberlain got in touch on this one. He said, a lethargic first 20 from the Broncos was symptomatic of their recent form. After that, they hit their straps, but this was as much to do with Dewsbury being truly woeful. Whilst a much-needed win... Oh, do you know what? I've done something here with the reviews. I need to do... Sorry, Paul. Whilst a much-needed win, Broncos are still missing key players, and Lee at home next week will be the true test of whether this is a temporary return to early season form. Good to see 7 homegrown players again, 6 of whom were 21 or under. Wow. And Dr. Hideous got in touch on this game too. He said, Danny Ward sacrificed a local virgin to the rugby gods who smiled upon the Broncos. Everything went right for them. Tricky moves went off flawlessly, fumbles turned into great kicks and passes, and the physio had a day off until literally the last second. Dewsbury brought a couple of coach loads of fans and have nothing to be ashamed of despite the scoreline. They played well and never gave up.
That's good. Toronto beat Halifax 42-10.
Yeah, and do you know what? Paul drove from Ealing to wherever the Scholars play. North. I think Ealing's in like West London, where the Broncos play, and then the Scholars play in North London, so a bit of a trek around the M25 maybe for Paul, but he was at this game as well, and he said Toronto put the game to bed early doors with 3 quick tries and Fax never recovered. Whilst Fax had some moments, the Wolfpack forwards were too much. Honourable mentions to Sims and Lussick, and their finishing too clinical. Other highlights were a pissed middle-aged Fax lady repeatedly sneaking on and changing the scoreboard, and a Ryan Sheridan lookalike incessantly banging a drum for 18 minutes. Oh, for a cowbell. And Genghis Campbell went to watch this game as well. He said, I think the Toronto Wolfpack are starting to look quite scary if you live in the HD1 postcode area. Can't wait to get to Fletcher's Field next week. Yeah, it's the first actual home ground on Canadian soil next week for the Wolfpack. I think it's Swinton, isn't it, who are the visitors?
I think so.
To that one. So hopefully Genghis Campbell and some of our other listeners from Toronto will get in touch, or from the States and Canada as well, will get in touch with reviews from that game. And obviously last week, just as we were recording, I think news was breaking of the awful driver attack in Toronto.
Yeah.
And I know, because I messaged Martin, and he said... Who sent in that excellent fan review of his family last year for the Wolfpack, and he said that he works quite close to where it happened and everything like that. So hopefully no one that listens to the show or was involved, or anyone close to them was directly involved, and our thoughts are for everyone that was involved there.
So then it was Featherstone 50, Batley 12, Lee 46.